Did you know that 96% of imported supermarket honey just failed authenticity testing? The Honey Authenticity Network tested jars from UK supermarkets and found 24 out of 25 contained sugar syrups, rice syrup, or mystery blends that aren't actually honey. The EU now requires every country of origin to be listed on the label. But here in the UK, you get blend of EU and non-EU honeys, which tells you absolutely nothing. They're legally allowed to hide where your honey actually comes from. But the good news is there are 5 honey brands in the UK that actually get it right. Genuinely British, fully traceable, no hidden syrups. And I'm going to show you exactly where to find them, what they cost, and which one is right for you. Here's what most people don't realise about supermarket honey. When you see Rouse or the store's own brand sitting on the shelf at under £2, that honey almost certainly came from China or Eastern Europe, got ultra-filtered to remove the pollen fingerprint that proves where it's from, and then got blended with who knows what before landing in your trolley. That's not honey. That's an industrial product designed to look like honey. But there's one jar at Tesco that breaks the pattern completely. Tesco Finest English Set Honey, 340 grams for £4.95. And here's why it matters. Turn that jar around and you'll see something you won't find on cheaper options. Produced in the UK, packed in the UK. That's not a blend of mystery imports. That's actual English honey from actual British bees. It's a set honey, which means it has that thick, creamy, spreadable texture, rather than the runny consistency you get from processed blends. Sweet and floral, the kind of honey your grandmother would recognise. And with 4.6 stars from over 30 reviews, your fellow shoppers agree it's the real thing. Now, yes, £4.95 is more than double what you'd pay for the cheap stuff, but that price difference is exactly the point. Real British honey costs real money to produce. If you're paying under £2 for a jar, you're buying the 96% that failed testing. If you're paying nearly £5, you're buying what honey actually costs when it's genuine. The caveat? It's set honey, not runny. So if you need something for drizzling, this isn't your jar. But if you want accessible British honey from Britain's biggest supermarket, this is where you start. And if you want something with serious health benefits that outperform the expensive stuff from New Zealand, that's where things get interesting. You've probably heard about Manuka honey and how it's supposed to have all these special properties that justify paying £20 or £30 for a tiny jar. But here's something the Manuka marketers don't want you to know. Scientific research by Ferroscience found that Scottish heather honey contains 10 times more manganese than Manuka and 200 other honeys they tested. That's not marketing. That's laboratory-verified science. Scottish bee company Heather Honey. 340 grams for £13 from their website, Ocado or Amazon. And this is honey that can only be harvested during a 6-week window each year when Scotland's moors burst into purple with ling heather. Miss that window and there's no honey. That scarcity is why this stuff is genuinely special. The texture is unlike anything else you'll find. It's thixotropic, which means it's gel-like when it's sitting still, but turns liquid when you stir it. That's how you know it's genuine heather honey. If it pours like regular honey, it's not the real thing. This company won Platinum at the London Honey Awards. They hold the BSI Kite Mark for food assurance, making them the first food product ever to receive it. And they donate 10 pence from every jar to their bee conservation charity, Repollinate. The caveat? At £13 for 340 grams, this isn't your everyday toast honey, and you'll need to order online or find an Ocado delivery slot. But if you want honey that's actually doing something for your health beyond just tasting sweet, this is the one that delivers. Real health benefits backed by real science, not just marketing claims. But what if you shop at Waitrose and want something premium without ordering online? Here's the problem with most premium supermarket honey. They stick a fancy label on it, charge you £5 or £6, and it's still the same blend of EU and non-EU honeys that could have come from absolutely anywhere. You're paying for the packaging, not the provenance. That's the same trick that got 96% of supermarket samples flagged as suspicious in the first place. Waitrose #1 British summer honey actually earns its premium price. 250 grams for £5 from any Waitrose store or Ocado. And this honey comes from a specific place, Yorkshire and County Durham. Bees foraging on hedgerows and wildflowers in the north of England. That's not vague marketing, that's traceable sourcing you can actually verify. The #1 range at Waitrose has earned award-winning status because shoppers are finally realizing that paying a bit more for genuine quality makes sense. This honey is fruity and fragrant with that subtle sweetness that tells you it's the real thing. It comes in a proper, reusable glass jar. Early summer harvest gives it that distinctive, delicate character. If you're already shopping at Waitrose and you want British honey without the hassle of specialist websites or waiting for deliveries, this is your answer. It's sitting right there on the shelf, clearly labelled, genuinely British. The caveat? It's a 250-gram jar, not 340 grams, so you're paying more per gram than the Tesco option. And availability can vary depending on seasonal harvests. Now, if you want to know exactly which beekeeper made your honey and where their hives are located, there's only one brand that prints that information on every single jar. Remember what I said about traceability? Most honey labels tell you nothing about where it actually came from. Even the better brands just say British or give you a vague region. Black Bee Honey does something no other brand does. They print the beekeeper's name and exact location on every single jar. That's not marketing, that's radical transparency. And in a market where 96% of imports are failing authenticity tests, transparency is everything. Black Bee Raw British Summer Honey. 227 grams for £6.95 from their website, Ocado, Holland & Barrett or Harrods. This is a B Corp certified company, which means they've been independently verified for social and environmental standards. They operate as a collective of British beekeepers, all committed to single-origin honey that's never blended. Their model donates 2% of everything they make to planting wildflower meadows. They've created over 20 acres so far with charity partner Plant Life. That's not a token gesture. That's genuine commitment to the ecosystem that makes honey possible in the first place. The range includes seasonal varieties, spring-set honey with that creamy early flower character, summer runny for drizzling, autumn heather from the moors, winter ivy with its distinctive crystallized texture. Each one captures a specific moment in the British beekeeping calendar. Every variety has won a Great Taste Award. The caveat? The jars are 227 grams, slightly smaller than standard. And availability can be patchy depending on seasonal harvests because they don't blend to maintain consistent stock. But if you care about knowing exactly who made your honey and supporting British beekeepers directly, This is the brand that delivers on that promise. But there's one more option, the gold standard. Honey good enough for a royal warrant. If you want to understand what honey can actually be when it's done at the highest possible level, this is where you end up. The London Honey Company holds a royal warrant from His Majesty King Charles III. They produce bespoke honey for Fortnum and Mason, the National Portrait Gallery, Tate Modern, and the V&A Museum. This is honey that sits alongside £200 champagne in luxury hampers. Pure London honey. 250 grams for £12.50 from their website, Selfridges or Fortnum and Mason. And yes, that's expensive. But here's what you're paying for. Founded by Steve Benbow, a former photojournalist who started keeping bees on London rooftops near Tower Bridge. Now they manage hives across the entire UK and have received the first royal warrant ever granted for beekeeping services. Every single jar is single origin, unpasteurized, minimally filtered, and fully traceable from hive to shelf. They're SALSA approved for food safety. The London honey itself has this remarkable urban complexity. Bees foraging in London parks, rooftop gardens, window boxes across the city. It tastes different from rural honey because it captures the biodiversity of an entire metropolis. Lively, complex, with fresh citrus notes from the diverse flora of the capital's trees, parks and gardens. The caveat? At £12.50 for 250 grams, this is special occasion honey, not your daily toast. You won't find it at Tesco. But if you want a gift that means something, or you want to taste what honey becomes when every single step is done right, this is the definitive answer. This is the gold standard. And now you know it exists. So here's your cheat sheet. If you want accessible British honey from a mainstream supermarket, Tesco Finest English Set Honey at £4.95 for 340 grams. If you want genuine health benefits that outperform Manuka with 10 times more manganese, Scottish Bee Company Heather Honey at £13. If you shop at Waitrose and want regional British honey straight off the shelf, Waitrose #1 British Summer at £5 for 250 grams. If you want to know exactly which beekeeper made your jar with their name printed right on the label, Black Bee at £6.95. And if you want the absolute gold standard with a royal warrant to prove it, London Honey Company at £12.50. The rule that lives in your head from now on? If honey costs under £3 for a standard jar, you're not buying honey. You're buying the 96% that failed testing. Which one surprised you the most? Drop your experience in the comments. And if you want to watch a video like this one, click the video on the screen. Thanks for watching.